Ladies and gentlemen, Capital G back at it with Piru the Volatile. Been wanting to put this one together and show it off on the channel for quite a while now, but finally have the chance to do so. It's a return to the old school Elder Dragon style. Our format, of course, was named after the original Elder Dragons, which were similar to Piru. All three colors on this case was allied colors at the time, such as Bolas and Arcades. So now we have Piru, a brand spanking new Elder Dragon that is in a wedge color combination rather than a shard color combination, as we like to call it in our format. So let's have a closer look. So Piru, of course, 2 generic, double red, double white, and double black for this 7/7 Elder. Has flying and lifelink, and at the beginning of your upkeep we must sacrifice it unless we pay a red, a white, and a black. All the original Elder Dragons had a similar deal. What's different here is that when Piru dies, it deals 7 damage to each non-legendary creature. So Piru actually takes advantage of the fact that you can simply not pay the upkeep and let it die, and obviously you can sacrifice it to other means if you so chose to. But yes, we are playing Mardu, that's white, red, and black. Mardu Legendary Tribal. So let's show off what this can do. Obviously, because we have a very high and very complex mana cost, the rocks are aplenty with Arcane Signet, the Burrow Signet, Chromatic Lantern, that would be the perfect fix. Commander Sphere, Felwar Stone. With 3 colors, it's likely one of our opponents can help us out. Running the Lightning Greaves for the haste and shroud. We're not worried about targeting our own things in this deck. Mana Crypt gets us the double colorless if we need it. Mimic, coming in from the new Dungeons & Dragons set. It's a treasure we can sack for our mana of any color, or we can just turn it into a 3/3 if we randomly need a 3/3. Mishra's Bauble for the free card draw. The Orzhov Signet, Rakdos Signet, Soul Ring, Swiftfoot Boots, again for the haste. Running the Talismans. These are all fantastic, if you ask me. Tormod's Crypt, obviously for running into a reanimator strategy of some sort, we want to deal with that. Wayfarer's Bauble got the reprint finally. Mitch is so happy. And Zephyr Boots. Random piece of equipment, you'll see it gives us a chance to kind of filter through cards because we don't have a lot of card draw, unfortunately. We're a little short there with this particular build. So the legends I've ended up choosing for today's deck, let's start with Atrios. If you manage to have Atrios and our commander out at the same time, we can just put the coin counter on our Piru, sacrifice it to its own upkeep trigger, and get it right back into play. Running Burgi, God of Storytelling, can wrap us up if we're playing a bunch of spells somehow on the front face, or, of course, don't forget the back face, Hornfell. If we play it on the back side, we can discard a card and basically exile our next 2 cards and maybe play one of those 2 cards. So turn 1 card into 2 if we need to. Boros Reckoner, because it's not a legendary creature, it will take damage from Piru, and whenever this is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to any target, so we can redirect damage dealt to the Reckoner to, say, our opponent. Running the Brash Taunter, same deal. Whenever this is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to target opponent, and it is indestructible. So an excellent blocker too while we get our board set up. Running Chainer, legendary, so protected from Piru's ability, and we can discard a card to cast a creature card from our graveyard. Or whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under our control, if we did not cast it from our hand, aka Command Zone or the graveyard, it gains haste. And yes, you can discard a creature card, cast that same creature card, and give it haste. So a great enabler. Running Dockside here, if you've got it, use it, because again, the mana cost is very high and very complex. This simplifies things greatly. Feldon of the Third Path. Create a token that's a copy of a creature in our graveyard. So if we've got Feldon close at hand, we can let Piru die, stay in our graveyard, and use Feldon to create token copies. Gisela, of course, whenever one of our sources deals damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, we get to double that damage. And damage dealt to us or our permanents is halved. So, a great addition here, and we have more than enough ramp to support her mana cost. Running Grevin has a chance to potentially draw some cards. Also a very aggressive beater if we need to turn sideways. And imagine Grevin is out and then we sacrifice our commander. Running Halvar. Creatures we control that are enchanted or equipped have double strike. We only have the 3 pieces of equipment. 4 if we play the Sword of the Realm side of Halvar. But both sides are incredibly useful, so I figured why not run him. That was on the wrong side of the screen, my apologies, but our next legend is Kokusho, which will not die from our commander's ability. However, when it does die, each of our opponents will lose 5 life, and we get to gain that life. Running Loris, as you can see, we had quite a few cards that are 2 CMC. That's also a great way to recover from a Vandal Blast. Remember that Vandal Blast just got reprinted. There are more copies of that running around now, so Loris will help us rebuild if our mana rocks get smashed. We've also got a couple of cards that just happen to be cheap, like Mishra's Bauble, so other synergies exist as well. But moving on to Mangara the Diplomat. Great way to draw some cards. If an opponent attacks us with creatures, if 2 of those creatures are attacking us, we get to draw a card. And whenever an opponent casts their second spell, we draw a card. This is actually a really good card draw for white. Even if you only get 1 or 2 extra cards per rotation. Still fantastic. Ragavan, if you've managed to pull a copy of Ragavan, because I don't think you want to drop $50 on this. But if you've got your Ragavan, great place to run it here. Gets us some extra treasures. Gets us cards from our opponent's library, so always useful. Redain God of the Worthy. If there's a lot of snow going around in your meta, excellent choice here for this 2/3 flyer with Vigilance. And even if that's not the case, non-creature spells our opponent's control with CMC 4 or greater will cost 2 more to cast. So if somebody wants to, drop a Wrath of God, sure, they have to pay 6 instead of 4. If their board wipes just happen to be more expensive, then they have to pay even more and slow down their own rebuild. Spitebear, sticking with the theme of having damage dealt to our creatures that we can send to an opponent's face. And of course, Stuffy Doll, the original. Freshly reprinted in Time Spiral Remastered, so plenty of copies of this running around now. Sir Conrad, because creatures are going into the graveyard. That means our opponents are taking damage from Sir Conrad. We're running Teshar, because we're running lots of artifacts and lots of legendaries. This will give us a chance to get some of our cheaper legendary creatures back onto the board. Even our non-legendary creatures can come back on the board, don't forget actually. Boros Reckoner, for example, is 3 CMC, so this brings back Boros Reckoner. Just a thought. Tiny Bones, no specific synergy here, but just if someone's running a discard strategy, we just get some extra card draw. And it's just cute to have a Tiny Bones kicking around. Turoff God of Fury. This is a great synergy in the deck. Whenever a creature or planeswalker an opponent controls is dealt excess non-combat damage, aka when our commander dies, Turoff deals damage equal to the excess to any target other than that permanent. So, we deal 7 damage to a 4 toughness permanent, 3 to the dome. Such is the plan. Don't worry about the equipment. We're not really going to be using the equipment. Although we could. There's nothing that stops us from using it if we wanted to, say, equip it to our commander and smash face. That's also an option. Vito, Thorn of the Dust Grows. Again, excellent synergy here. Whenever we gain life, target opponent loses that much life. Our commander has lifelink. When it dies and deals the 7 damage to all of the things, we're gaining that life. So, yeah, we're going to be draining out all our opponents this way. Zergo Helm Smasher. Indestructible on our turn, and it's a 7/2 that beats face. So sometimes we just need to, throw a creature sideways at someone to keep their board in check. A few enchantments including Animate Dev, which will make it really easy for us to recur our commander if need be. Or any other creature, for that matter. Forging the Tyrite Sword. We're running Halvar, so why not run the Tyrite Sword? Or we do have 3 other pieces of equipment too. So we have 4 cards that are Chapter 3 can tutor for. But it's for Chapter 1 and 2, getting those extra treasures. That's what we're here for. Ghostly Flame. This one's a bit of a meta call on my part, because there are a lot of people who run Protection. So if there's a bunch of swords running around, well, let's make all our sources of damage colorless, especially our black and our red sources. Are all of a sudden colorless, which means they're no longer protected by the sword. Revel in Riches. We do have quite a bit of treasure token generation, so why not run it? And also, whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, we get a treasure. So lots of creatures are going to die, especially once our commander goes to the graveyard. So alternate win con. Let's have it. Showdown of the Scalds. A little bit of card draw, essentially. We get to exile the top 4 cards of our library on Chapter 1, and then we have until the end of our next turn to play those cards. And whenever we cast a spell this turn, that's Chapters 2 and 3, the following turns, we get to put a 1/1 counter on a creature we control. Smothering Tithe, again for the treasures and the mana fixing. Of course, we're going to run it here if we've got it. Moving on to Instance with Bolt Bend. This spell costs 3 less to cast if you control a creature of power 4 or greater. We do have a few of those, including our commander. So for 1 red, if someone tries to target one of our creatures or any of our permanents, we get to change that target. Boros Charm for the Indestructible, just in case we don't want our ward wiped too early. Fire Covenant. Great finisher, great way to knock somebody out if we have our commander out, ready to go. For 3 mana, basically it's knock out target player. We'll pay the life, but we'll gain it right back because our commander has lifelink. Teferi's Protection, of course, it's got the reprint in Strixhaven, so if you've managed to scoop up a copy, and this is beautiful, beautiful art, by the way. I really like this version of the card. Why not protect our board with the extra mana? Tibalt's Trickery, a little bit of counter magic in red. I actually got by this the other day, so I can tell you it's a really, really good card. Unexpected Windfall, another new card coming in from Dungeons & Dragons, double red and 2. We get to discard a card to draw 2 cards and create 2 treasures. So spend 4, and we're basically starting our next turn 2 turns ahead. 37 lands, a generous amount, including the Battlefield Forge, Blightstep Pathway, which we can do black or red with, the Blood Crypt, playing the Shocks, Bright Climb Pathway, Caves of Koilos, City of Brass gives us all our colors, as does Command Tower, Fetid Heath. This really helps with the double pip cost that we find in our commander, so double black, double white. Field of the Dead. We have a lot of different types of lands, so why not run Field of the Dead as a sort of a backup? The Godless Shrine, Graven Cairns for double black, double red, Mana Confluence, 3 mountains, 1 Needle Verge Pathway. Running the Nomad Outpost, it comes in tap, but it gives us all our colors. Path of Ancestry gives us the scry when we cast our commander, or if we cast our dragon Kokosho. Also taps for all of our colors, so worth running. 3 plains, 1 Rugged Prairie, a Sacred Foundry, Savai Triome, which is all our land types. We could cycle it away in the late game if we don't need it. Running the Snow-Covered Mountains, because even though we already have quite a bit of land diversity already, this just helps further complement our Field of the Dead. Snow-Covered Plains, Snow-Covered Swamp, 3 of each. Sulphurous Springs, 3 regular swamps, rounded out. And just the 1 Planeswalker today, Kaya the Inexorable. Got to see this on the other side of the table for the first time, and putting Ghost Form tokens, pretty sweet. So 5 loyalty Kaya. Put a Ghost Form counter on up to 1 non-token creature. It gains when this creature dies or is put into exile. Return it to its owner's hand and create a 1/1 spirit token with flying. So we can use Kaya in combination with our commander to, well, always have our commander on the board sacrificing itself and dealing 7 damage to all of the non-legendary creatures. We can also -3 to exile an online permanent if need be. It's a little expensive for single target removal, but the +1 is what brings her to the dance. If we somehow get to -7, we get an Emblem Whiff. At the beginning of your upkeep, we may cast a legendary spell from our hand, from our graveyard, or from among cards we own in exile, without paying its mana cost. So this is actually, if we manage to get to the -7, it's actually Swords protection, because if one of our key cards gets swords, we'll be able to cast it. Into sorceries now with Damn. I just love the name of the card and the way this was put together. This is a sweet card, perhaps the best single target removal at sorcery speed that we've seen. Destroy target creature, it can't be regenerated for only 2 black. Or, if we pay double white and 2, we can overload it, and it's basically a Wrath of God. Or a Damnation if you prefer, nonetheless. And on the topic of Damnation there, that is the Mythos of Snapdax. Double white and 2, and each player chooses 1 artifact, creature, enchantment, and planeswalker from amongst their non-land permanents and sacrifices the rest. And if we spent white, red, black to cast the spell, we get to choose those permanents. So we get to choose everybody's worst stuff to stay on the board, and we get to keep our best. Reanimate, 1 black, bring a creature card from the graveyard under our control, any graveyard. And Rise of the Dark Realms, another way to end the game again. We got lots of ramp, so why not ramp up to 9, let our commander wipe the board, and get all of those creatures back. And of course, Ruinous Ultimatum, super easy for us to cast with the ramp that we have. Destroy all non-land permanents our opponent's control. Urza's Ruinous Blast rounds us out off the board wipes. Exile all non-land permanents that aren't legendary. So if we're just not getting to our commander quickly enough, boom. And that is our take on Piru the Volatile. This is, for me, the legend from Modern Horizons 2 that really stuck out the most. I kind of wish we got the whole cycle. I guess Wizards have either not designed them yet or just holding them back for future sets. I don't know. Nonetheless, it's great to see an old school Elder Dragon join the fray. So let's call it a day here, and I will see you all for the next one. Bye for now.